Good evening. I'd like to welcome everyone to the regular City Commission meeting of Tuesday, February 20th, 2024. And ask all of you to join me. Actually, I'm going to call the meeting to order first. And ask all of you to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call. Commissioner Steinhardt?
Present.
Commissioner Olsman?
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Rozelle?
Present.
Mayor Paul present. Commissioner Elder is excused this evening. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
So, second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Mayor, we did have another proclamation we added to the agenda. If you wouldn't mind to amend the agenda to add proclamation number 2, celebrating Lunar New Year.
Oh, yes.
I think Commissioner Olsman and I are in agreement to amend our motion, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
That's fine with us.
We need another vote on that
Yes.
to accept the amended agenda.
Please.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
I don't have a microphone. I don't know if, I just noticed that. I don't know if they can hear me or not. Well, I'll try and speak loud. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Did you say second?
Jessica.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We have two communications. One of them is a resignation from the Senior Advisory Committee from Natalie Baum. Do we have a motion to accept that resignation with thanks for time served?
So moved.
Second.
Any comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. We have two proclamations this evening. First one is a proclamation declaring February 2024 as Black History Month. Whereas during Black History Month, we celebrate the many achievements and contributions made by African Americans to our economic, cultural, spiritual, and political development. Whereas Black History Month grew out of the establishment in 1926 of Negro History Week by Carter G. Woodson and the Association for the Study of African American Life and History. And whereas since 1976, every American president has designated February as Black History Month and endorsed a specific theme. The Black History Month 2024 theme is the Black family, representation, identity, and diversity. Whereas the observance of Black History Month calls our attention to the continued need to battle racism and build a society that lives up to its democratic ideals. Whereas the City of Huntington Woods continues to work towards becoming an inclusive community in which all citizens, past, present, and future, are respected and recognized for their contributions and potential contributions to our community, the state, the county, and the world. And whereas the City of Huntington Woods Library hosted the Black History Hall of Fame theater performance, conducted a library scavenger hunt of prominent African American figures, promoted a book display in honor of Black History Month, and will host Harriet Tubman, presented by Carol Trembath in March of 2024. Now therefore, in recognition of African Americans, past and present, in our community, I, Robert Paul, Mayor of the City of Huntington Woods, do hereby proclaim February 2024 to be Black History Month. And our second proclamation is one celebrating the Lunar New Year. Whereas Lunar New Year is a time of joy and renewal and is celebrated by many communities of Chinese, Korean, Vietnamese, Tibetan, Mongolian, Singaporean, Malaysian, and Filipino descent. And whereas traditions across the cultures that celebrate Lunar New Year vary, all are focused on celebrating and strengthening family and community bonds. And whereas the Lunar New Year, also known as Spring Festival, is based on the lunar calendar, which includes Chinese zodiac, or Shangzhou, a repeating 12-year cycle of animal signs and their ascribed attributes. And whereas, through the animal signs, although the animal signs vary across cultures, the Lunar New Year marks the transition from one animal to the next, with February 9th, 2024, marking the end of the year of the rabbit, and February 10th, 2024, starting the year of the dragon. Whereas the dragon is the fifth of the 12 zodiac animal signs, and those born in the year of the dragon are often seen as courageous and intelligent, often displaying tenacity, enthusiasm, and confidence. Whereas approximately 100,000 Asian and Pacific Islander residents live, work, and play across Oakland County, and those who celebrate Lunar New Year are our beloved friends and family, our cherished neighbors and valued members of the City of Huntington Woods and Oakland County. Now, therefore, in recognition of all those who celebrate, I, Robert Paul, Mayor of the City of Huntington Woods, do hereby proclaim and recognize February 10th, 2024, to be the start of the lunar year and the year of the dragon. Don't believe we have any elected officials here with us evening, so we'll move on to public participation. Now is an opportunity for a member of the public to make a statement on something that is not on the agenda. Please come forward to the podium if you have anything.
Paul Stamp, 13108 Talbot Avenue. Two questions. It's been 2 years now since the commission approved the master plan. Your consultant, any consultant, recommended that you review it on an annual basis and make adjustments as appropriate. I wonder if you could share with the residents what that summary of your evaluation and what adjustments you may have made to the master plan. That's question one. Question two, it's been over 2 years since you flew the Ukrainian flag and passed a wonderful proclamation of support. Again, I wonder if you could share with the residents what, if anything, the city has actually done to support the Ukrainian people. Those two questions are just like a response to at some point.
Okay, thank you for your comments. I'll have the city manager get in touch with you.
Will do.
Any other public comments? All right. Seeing no other, we'll close public participation and move on to our regular items of business. First item is a matter of considering authorizing the city manager to issue a request for proposal for operations of the City Pool Cafe for the 2024 season. There is a slightly revised RFP in front of us tonight.
Yes.
We just added the
The
price.
sections that I added were in red on page 1, and I think page 2, there's text in red that was added regarding potential remuneration back to the city for operating of the cafe.
Mr. Mayor, can I ask
Yes.
a question? I'm wondering, on number 5, can we add veteran-owned? I know we later on, we reference veterans' preference along with minority and women, but I think it's just got omitted from number 5.
I will add that in. Thank you.
And then, is the remuneration to the city, is that to essentially offset, like, electricity, natural gas, like whatever they're using to operate the cafe itself, or is this going to be an independent, sort of freestanding cafe that's going to have its own power source and its own?
No, they would actually operate using our equipment.
Okay.
The feeling is here, they're gonna staff this themselves. They're gonna sell the items with our approval, as we have rights at prices that we mutually agree to. They'll keep the profits. They give us a blank a payment per month, as it was stated in page 2. What that amount would be, I don't know. We haven't really, this kind of got closed down a bit because of COVID.
Sure.
We opened it up a little informally with a company coming in, like a little bit on weekends the last year, and that was somewhat successful, but we're looking to really formalize that arrangement.
Okay.
Have it open more full-time, so they would use our site, our electricity, our utilities, even the equipment that we have available is there for their use. As long as it's returned in good order, they would keep, the proceeds from the sale, they would pay us for the privilege of being there.
Great.
That's the thought. How this will work, we'll see next month, I think,
Perfect.
as we get here. But we want to get this issued, as the poll season's coming up and see what kind of responses we get to this.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Mayor, I have a question.
Could we get a motion on the table first,
All right, I'll move it.
as amended?
Can I second it if I'm,
You can.
all right. Under number 3, where it says state the amount of payment provided to the city of Huntington Woods for the operation of the cafe, payment should be made to the city. How, would anyone coming in on an RFP be able to designate how much, they were gonna pay until they knew how much they were gonna make? In other words, shouldn't this be something based on a percentage basis of, say, either net or gross sales that they do? I just don't know how, somebody can guarantee a payment amount, and if they do, what happens if they're not making enough to pay it?
That could be their, whatever they propose to us. It could be a percentage of sales, or it could be a flat amount.
Okay,
We don't know.
But I could modify that language to say
Yeah.
payment or percentage of gross sales
yeah.
be provided to the city.
Yeah, I mean, because this is like how, going in, I mean, how could you possibly commit to something, and then if you committed to it and couldn't do it, then you say, well, you're in breach of the agreement, so.
And
I
with
think-
COVID, there's really no data to give them to even tell them.
Zero.
Yeah.
So if the commission's okay with that, I mean, if
Yeah.
you wanted to include
Add
a
that,
provision for a,
payment and/or percentage of gross sales.
do you want their should their proposal be one or the other? They can
Yeah.
pick, but
And so could we.
we have the right to pick, right? We could pick, yeah.
Right.
Okay, I will modify that to allow for a splitting of the proceeds from the sales there. Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Fine with that.
Do you accept
Yeah, I
that?
do.
Okay.
No problem.
You accept that?
Yeah, I do.
All right. No. Yes.
Oh, thank you. So it says that they'll open every day that the pool is open? So is the
That's-
expectation
Yes, that's the plan.
7 days a week?
Yes.
Okay.
While we're open, yes, that is the plan. They will be open the hours that we are open.
Any comments or questions from the public? Any other comments or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Good luck. Hopefully, we have lots of interested people.
Hopefully so. Thank you. Thank you for your comments.
All right, second item is a second reading for the adoption of an ordinance to amend the City of Huntington Woods Code of Ordinance, defining, removing certain definitions for site design standards, section 10.11 signs, to amend those regulations pertaining to signs in their entirety and to provide penalties for violations thereof.
Mr. Mayor, if I could, nothing's really changed since the first reading, other than the fact that Carol Rosati, the city attorney, did go back, and there was a couple language changes, which were just really housekeeping issues. Basically, what this does is it takes the old ordinance, which is really insufficient for today. We've added a lot of graphics, a lot of language, a lot of definitions. And what we've done is we've gone ahead and made this more complete, more concise, and there's really not a way that you can read this and not know exactly what you have to do to comply. So we wanted to go ahead and do that, and then it also regulates temporary signs, which is all kinds of temporary signs, which is everything from real estate signs to anything that's not protected speech under the First Amendment of the Constitution. And with that, what we're asking for is a second reading approval and for this to go in and be codified.
Mr. Mayor, I'll move approval. Second reading.
Second.
Comments or questions from the public? From the commission?
I have a couple questions, if I might ask them. So if you could clarify, the window signs are referenced, but not under the, it didn't appear they were referenced as part of the residential district?
Window signs that would be counted for, meaning that if you're in the residential district and people have signs in their windows, that you would be able to take a look at that as well. Because if you don't have a lawn sign and you don't reference the window signs could be plastered up there and the whole front window of the house could be that, and that could be detrimental and go towards blight, and we wouldn't have any way to regulate that. It is regulated under the commercial as well, whereas if you do have window signs that are part of your signage or your overall signage for the building, and there are places on Woodward that do that, you're still only allowed a certain percentage, and that would count towards the square footage that you're allowed. The reason it's in residential, because you don't want to have them plastered all over the front window sign, and it would be in conflict with the blight ordinance. The reason you don't want to have it in the commercial is because then it would violate the total amount of signage that you're allocated.
So is it then, it's my understanding that the parameters around the window signs apply to both the residential district and the commercial?
They do, however, a little bit different because they're different circumstances.
Okay.
But yes, they are applicable to both.
And then another question I had was around the penalties. It read as if the penalties only applied to those who had signed permits, who had required permits for signs, as opposed to perhaps those who put up temporary signs in violation of the sign ordinance.
I'm not sure that that's the way that reads. I think, and, Matt, maybe you could perhaps interject here, but I think what it was done is that it was worded that way so as not to impinge on anybody's First Amendment rights to have certain signs. Yet it did want to allocate a provision for a penalty for if you have one without a permit that you should have a permit for. And that would be something that we would now enforce and perhaps write a violation for. So that's really all that is. It's nothing that we're, going out and looking for signs to write, but the purpose of the sign ordinance was to make everything as definitive as possible. So I certainly appreciate the question because it indicates that there is some form of understanding, and I see that you wanted to clear that up, but my take on why we did this was that we did it so that we wouldn't impinge on anybody's property, anybody's personal freedoms or First Amendment rights, yet we would have a matter of recourse for those that did not comply with that.
And so for those that post temporary signs on public property or right of way,
Those we would pull. The code enforcement officer would go pull that. If it's on public property, we don't allow signs on public property.
and then is there a penalty incurred to whatever resident or organization posted those signs?
Most likely, that would depend on the officer's interpretation. If it was pulled off and they were told not to do it and they did it again, they would get a violation for it. If it was pulled off, typically what we've done with things like that is we've taken them or we put them back on the front porch and, you can't do that type of thing. And if it gets back out there, then we would have the issue.
And then my last question is around community education about the new sign ordinance. So what is the plan for ensuring that residents are familiar with any changes to the sign ordinance?
Typically what we do is we notice, this has been noticed in the paper, this has been on the website, and the agenda has as well as the actual ordinance. What we can do is also, once this is done, they're going to have to publish it in the paper in its entirety, so that will be done. And I'm sure that there would be no problem, and Mr. Wilson could correct me if I'm wrong, but there would be no problem in putting that in the e-blast as well as the new ordinances here. Here's the link to it. Please check it out.
Thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Item number 3 is also a second reading. This is considering an adoption of an ordinance regarding accessory buildings. Review that for us again, Hank?
Yes, sir. Basically, what we have here is, it was kind of making a wrong or an oversight right. We went through and we had years ago installed the maximum house sizes. And we did that based on lot configurations, lot sizes, and square footage and square footages for zone districts. And we did that, and it's been really successful so far. What we didn't do was we didn't increase the size of the accessory structures for those buildings, meaning that a house that's on an acre lot could have only the same size 10 by 10 or 100 square foot accessory structure that the house that's 40 by 120 could have. So what we've done is we've had the sliding scale here that goes up in 25-foot increments all the way from R1E through R1A, which are the different zone districts, and they've gone up by 25 square feet. So the smallest would have, R1E would have 100 square feet. That would stay the same. Those are the smallest lots in the city of Huntington Woods. The purpose for this is to allow that we have as much open space as we can, yet still recognizing the residents needs to have additional, other than a garage, space to store items. And that's really what this is. It's like a garage and a shed, or a garage and something covered. And the reason that we did that was R1D was 125, 150 in R1C, 175 in R1B, and 200 in R1A. So 200 square feet in an R1A is an additional building, which are typically the bigger lots, and 175 in R1B, and that would allow those houses to have things such as storage, like if they have a pool for pool equipment, pool, accessories and that type of thing. And also for all the others to have like lawn mowers and things like that. So what we were basically doing was bringing it back into some kind of reasonableness, that we could have additional square footage, not overly impact any of the lot coverage issues, and go ahead and in essence, give the residents more freedoms.
Do we have a motion to accept?
Motion?
Second.
Any public comment?
Yes. Again, just a question. Is there any provision in there to compensate for the loss of permeable surface area?
No.
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 Is there any provision anywhere in the city for asking people to compensate for the loss of permeable surface area if they build a pool or a basketball court or?
We have lot coverage minimums.
Do they have to compensate for the loss?
They don't have to compensate, what they have
That's
to
something
do.
you all talked about at one point in your master plan. Never has been done. Thank you, as I thought.
Mr. Berry, would you like to finish your statement?
Thank you. If that's okay with Mr. Mayor, I'll go ahead and do that. Basically, what we've done is we've gone ahead, and we've done this for years, is have lot coverage minimums. There's no more than 50% of the rear yard that can be occupied by structures. That includes whether it's patios, impervious surfaces such as garages, anything covered by a roof, sports courts, swimming pools, that type of thing. That's all covered under that. So 50% has been the number that's been determined by the Planning Commission and approved by the City Commission for the rear yard. Conversely, we also have a 30% maximum lot coverage ratio, and that 30% has basically allows that anything covered by a roof cannot cover over 30%. So what I think that they're doing here, or what I know that they're doing here, is they've taken that into consideration as part and parcel of what people are willing to accept for pervious and impervious surfaces in the city of Huntington Woods.
Thanks, Hank.
Yes, sir.
Comments or questions from the commission? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 4 is appointments to city boards and commissions. We have one appointment this evening, and it's to the Planning Commission, which is a mayoral appointment. So with the commission's approval, I would like to someone to make a motion to appoint Brandon Weinbaum to the Planning Commission for a 3-year term.
Motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any public comment? Comments or questions from the commission? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
That is important that we have a full full board for the planning commission. As, when residents come forward with their plans, whether we have 7 members at the committee or not, they need a majority, they need the 5 votes. So we're glad to help out with that.
Thank you.
City managers report.
Thank you, Mayor Paul. Just a couple of things. I know commissions, as previously you were aware, you approved work on a couple of plans, a capital improvement plan focused around improvements we made at the parks. We continue to work with MKSK on that. I think we've got an update toward a beginning of a final draft of that this Thursday, meeting with representatives from there as well. So that has moved forward well, and once we get some final drafts of that, we'll go over that with Parks and Rec and the Parks and Rec Board, and hopefully be presenting something back to the City Commission soon with recommendations. But it looks well, the work been done on that to date. The Climate Action Plan, we're going to have an update from the firm that we chose to do the data analysis for us. The last environmental meeting, we had, of course, we had multiple people out of town and also ill, so we've had to postpone that. But we have begun some of the data collection process, which is going to be extensive, more extensive than I think we originally planned for, but that is moving forward. And I think at the meeting for March, we will get a more formal update to the Environmental Sustainability Committee about that, with that coming back before the commission soon. Presidential primary work is ongoing. There's been a tremendous amount of work from the staff in this office, including Clerk Barcoats, who's here with us tonight, and deserves credit for the work and the long hours she's been putting in on this. A couple of updates just for the public to know. This Thursday, from 5 to 8, City Hall will be open late. Again, that's 5 to 8 p.m. If anybody has any questions or needs any assistance with anything election related, staff will be here on hand to help answer those questions. So that'll be provided just to them after hours. Beyond Thursday, this Saturday, which will be the 24th, City Hall will be open all day from 8:30 to 4:30. If anybody has any election-related questions, last-minute questions, the election is obviously, election day is next Tuesday, the 27th. But this Saturday, all day from 8:30 to 4:30, City Hall will be open. Staff will be here on hand if they have any questions, they need any assistance. That's a great time for them to come take care of that on the weekend. Early voting has already started. If you'd like to take advantage of that, this is the first, you're not the first election, but this is the first year we're doing that. That is from every day from 8:30 to 4:30 at the Oak Park Community Center. That'll be running through the 25th, which would be Sunday before Election Day. So next, that'll run through this Sunday. I said 8:30 to 4:30, except Thursday, when it's going to actually be open from 12 to 8. So they have late hours on that Thursday, same as we do. If you want to come in and vote after hours, you can take advantage of that early voting up until 8 p.m. on Thursday the 22nd. And the actual election day, which we're always all familiar with, on the 27th, you can still go do that as well. And if you want to be old-fashioned like me and show up at 7:15, which is probably what I'll do, because it'll be quiet. But yeah, the polls will be open. The rec center program will be going on, but otherwise the rec center and the library will be closed that day just to accommodate all the voters that we think we're going to have, because there's multiple precincts now that are housed at the rec center. I think you remember that discussion from the last meeting. So just to make sure we have adequate parking, we worked with rec center staff and the library staff to accommodate that. For this primary, we'll be monitoring that, obviously, for the next primary election in August and the general election in November as well. So just to make sure we have adequate space for everybody, they agreed for this time to close, and we'll monitor that, and those discussions are already underway. So thanks to Heidi for all her efforts there. Last thing I wanted to mention, those of you who've maybe been around a while or know, I've probably talked about him a bit. Jeff McKean, longtime executive director for SACWA, and SACWA has officially announced his resignation. The boards have been working on his replacement now for a while, and we have made a hire. A gentleman by the name of Eric Griffith has a long-term history with GLWA and has just started this week. Jeff is staying on for a few months to help that transition, just because the capacity of that job in particular, there's a lot of stuff that you only do really once a year, maybe once a quarter. So the board agreed to retain Jeff for a period of time. formally, and I think as of, planning on May 1st, roughly being his last full day of employment there, and then we have a consulting contract that'll run on for a couple of years, even if Eric needs it. But Eric's very well seasoned. We're really looking forward to getting started with him. Jeff has been, anybody who've ever worked with Jeff directly has been a tremendous asset. I've worked in a Sockra and Sockra communities for 15 years now, and I can tell you the benefit that they provide. It's really an example of how intergovernmental agreements and governmental cooperation should be run, and Jeff has really been the center of that. Well, we will miss him. We tried to drag out the search process as long as possible, but he's leaving anyway. I don't think we would be the only community, but perhaps some statement of recognition at the April or May meeting would be appropriate for Jeff. Don't know if I'll get him over here. That he doesn't like to drive from Grosse Pointe at night, but I will try. If nothing else, I'll present it to him at a meeting. But it's worth mentioning his many years here. And when he came into that board, that was a board in flux, a lot of controversy, meetings of multiple hours, and that's not the case anymore. And I said it at my last job, and I'll say it here again. The number of communities that made it through COVID without a significant interruption in trash pickup was truly the 1%. And we were one of those. In this area, not there weren't some difficulties and some hiccups, but to get through that period of time without significant trash service interruption was almost unheard of nationwide, certainly throughout the rest of the state. Jeff pulled that off. We have great relationships with our contractors, and that service runs. There's always complaints about garbage collection. I get that. There's always problems. It runs very well here, and we're very fortunate to have them operating that for us. Okay, I've stole Jeff enough tonight, so any more and I'll embarrass him. Probably already have. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Any questions from the commission for the city manager? All right. Commissioner comments? Commissioner Olsman?
No comments.
Mayor Pro Tem Rozell?
No comments.
Commissioner Steinhardt?
No comments.
No comments from me. Do we have a motion to adjourn the city commission meeting?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Meeting adjourned.
30 minutes. There you go.
Good job.
Government
Yep.
efficiency.